Madam President, honorable colleagues, I address this Parliament as a representative of Italy, a country deeply affected by the realities of migration across the Mediterranean and, more broadly, by the long-standing shortcoming of our common European migration policy. The year 2015 marked a turning point for the European Union. Since then, nearly a decade has passed, yet Europe has failed to address migration in an effective manner grounded in its own foundational principles. Rather than advancing towards solidarity, responsibility, sharing, and human dignity, our response have increasingly relied on securitization, restriction, and externalization. Migration did not begin in 2015, nor did it end here. On the contrary, it has intensified over time. New and persistent conflicts in the Middle East, in Ukraine, and beyond continued to generate displacement and forced migration. These realities remind us that migration is not an anomaly, but a structural consequence of global instability and of political decisions in which Europe itself plays a role. Despite this, the Union continues to frame migration primarily as a threat. Border control has taken precedence over protection, and deterrence has overshadowed responsibility. This approach contradicts the values upon which the European Union was founded: respect for human dignity, human rights, and solidarity among peoples and member states. Mediterranean countries, including Italy, continue to bear a disproportionate burden. This imbalance exposes the fragility of the common European asylum system and the absence of binding mechanisms of solidarity. Responsibility sharing remains voluntary, uneven, and politically contested, undermining trust within the Union itself. Support the reception of refugees does not imply disorder or institutional weakness. On the contrary, it requires stronger cooperation, shared rules, and a collective commitment to human rights. Security without humanity empties our principle of meaning, and control without solidarity fuels exclusion and resentment. Europe cannot credibly present itself as a moral and civilizational reference while tolerating discriminatory practice based on nationality, culture, or religion. A union that claims universal values must be willing to apply them universally. Therefore, I call for a common migration policy that moves beyond fear and embraces solidarity as a binding obligation. A policy that protects borders, yes, but above all protects lives. One that recognizes migrants and refugees not as risks, but as human beings shaped by conflicts and inequalities, many of which persist because of global inaction. Only through coherence between values and practice can the European Union regain credibility and address migration in a manner worthy of its foundational ideals. Thank you.